Hi guys. In the last story, the real life story of the son of a witch, the guy Masinde had managed to escape a very bad accident caused by his dad's witchcraft energies to stop him from heading to a Christian school. He survived it, him and his uncle, who was a Christian. Masinde believes that it's his powers of witchcraft that had made him survive his father's powers or whatever. And his uncle believed that it was by God's grace that he survived. So off they went to the Christian high school. And as a norm, you guys know these days in boarding, when you're going to a boarding school, of course, they will open your suitcases just to make sure you're not carrying any illegal things to the school. So one by one, the students' suitcases are cleared, are checked, and once you're cleared, you move to the next area for registration. Whatever processes go on there, at least you've been cleared with the suitcases, everything, you have everything. Now you move to the next station. Come Masinde's turn. Open your suitcase, Mr. Masinde. He opened his suitcase, and the teacher who was checking began putting his items side by side. You know how they check? Two blankets, put aside. Two sheets, put aside. Toilet rolls, put aside. Detergent, put aside. And what did he see beneath Masinde's suitcase that made him fall in shock? The teacher actually got a great shock from what he saw in Masinde's suitcase. A human skull. A human skull. A tail of a bull. As in, everybody's eyes were now turned on the teacher who had fallen backwards. You know, like you fall and you trip and then you hold yourself backwards. Everybody looked at him, waiting for him to stand, but he was trying to, get something to hold on so that he gets back. So Masinde's uncle grabbed him, had helped him up again, and was wondering what's going on. And the teacher could not say anything because the words could not come out of his mouth because of the shock he had received. He only pointed at Masinde's suitcase. When his uncle looked, you know what he saw? The skull. The human skull. And it struck him that probably it's true that his brother is practicing witchcraft. And he was so embarrassed. Why on earth will Masinde carry such a thing to school? What is it coming to do with it? Masinde was wondering, why are people looking surprised? Because to him, it's normal. He knew no other religion. Other religions were just fairy tales. But, it's like you see a Christian relic and you get a shock and fall behind. That's what it was like to him. So he was wondering why the hell a guy's looking so surprised. I mean, these are his stuff. The guy simply carried his altar to school. It's like Christians carry relics to remember, to remind them of maybe Christ or something like that. Like you carry a piece of cross and then you see somebody collapse and you wonder why the hell is this person collapsing. So to him, the skull was something like symbolic to him. It's his altar. He's coming to carry out his rituals, continuation from home. So his uncle asked him what was going on. He said, we cannot, the teacher told him there is no way they're going to allow such stuff in the school. And his uncle defended him, like, actually, this guy, he might not have known that he's carrying these things in his suitcase, but his dad, who's kind of believes in traditional healing, he tried to make it look so nice, like give it a nice title, traditional healing, things like that. So that's why he asked his son to carry this thing. He put them in his, his suitcase because of the traditional healing protections. So the best you can do, the teacher told him, is to keep the skull in the biology lab. In this case, Masinde's altar, it was a bit hard to convince him to part with it because of the promises that he had made to the demon or to his supernatural powers. So he believes. They don't call it a demon in their witchcraft, but they call it their mighty. But in reality, it's a demon actually. So they convinced him finally that they will keep it to him in a certain place called the lab, biology lab. But in fact, they were taking it away from him. I mean, what are all these with other paraphernalia that they did not understand? So they took it and kept it in the biology lab, maybe for future studies it could be helpful to the students. To them it meant nothing. However, a few weeks later, strange things began to happen in the biology lab. The students will complain of strange things happening, like lights going on and off on their own, like they will see strange signs on the walls, like they will hear some eerie sound. That books were being thrown around, but the board just took it like this is just kiddish kind of prank from the students who are lazy, who are trying to avoid the biology lessons, probably from the students who are trying to avoid the biology lessons or they don't like the biology teacher. But then the teacher who found the skull in Masinde's luggage was feeling a bit skeptical, like he was becoming suspicious, but he did not want to, because himself he did not see how the connection is, things are flying or whatever. He thought it's kind of a joke, but the fact that he had put the skeleton there, he began getting suspicious because all these years such things have never happened. The only skeleton they had in the lab, of course, was the one for studying the parts of the bones and things like that. But this was a new one. It was just a skull on its own, human skull. The happenings became more intense as per the students, that no student wanted to step in the biology lab anymore. And this even made the teachers also start getting scared of going into the biology lab. But the teacher who had collected the skull from Masinde's suitcase did not want to inform the principal, who was a priest, because he did not want to put Masinde in trouble, because Masinde was already scoring A's in his subjects. And so he didn't want to lose an A student thing just like that. So he kept it a secret. Another thing that was a problem was Masinde. Masinde could not attend Mass. Mass was the routine in this Christian school because it was a Catholic Christian school, and before breakfast, when they wake up, the students had to attend Mass and then breakfast. So every time it was Mass time, Masinde would suddenly fall sick, or he will feign sickness so that he is not able to attend Mass. But the teachers noticed that every time after Mass, he is okay. He's there for breakfast, first one, in the cafeteria, in the dining hall, because he did not attend Mass. And he didn't look sick at all. So they were wondering what's happening here. Then they forced him to attend the Mass because it was compulsory. He had to. So, during one of these masses, Masinde suddenly stood up and began speaking in an unknown language, in tongues, in Latin. It says that if you're possessed, you can speak all the languages in the world. Because it is not you speaking, it is a demon. It is a demon speaking. Okay, they say it was Latin, but I don't think that it's Latin because the demon is just an earthly language that nobody will understand. So that's why they just call it Latin. The demons really hate Latin, so I doubt if they would really use it even when they're possessing someone. And the students were so horrified when his eyes rolled backwards and he was rolling on the floor and being elevated and his body contorted in an unnatural way. The teachers tried to hold him and the strong students tried to hold him, but they were thrown off by an supernatural force that they'd never felt before. It was an inhuman force. But when the priest stopped the Mass and walked over to him, everything went calm. It was like something had just jumped out of him and he went back to the normal. After this incident, then the chaos erupted in the school. This is where now the students began coming up with stories of their experiences, which they were thinking were dreams. But now they were trying to connect them to Masinde because of what they had just seen. One of the students came up with the story that he was lying on bed one time, daytime, afternoon, like it's a Saturday when they're free. So they have their clubs, so they just relax. So one student said that he was lying on the bed. When he turned aside, he saw somebody in a long cloak, long nails. He was so shocked and he believed he was dreaming actually. And he could not breathe properly. It was like something heavy was on his chest. And he thought it's probably sleep paralysis. But what the hell was he seeing here if it was sleep paralysis? And what was that mark, the scratch that he had on his cheek, if it was sleep paralysis? The boy had kept quiet because he did not want to believe that what he had just witnessed on that day was a reality because of the scratches that he had. He just assumed probably it was a spider, in that he began believing it was actually something, an insect that had scratched him, and whatever he had seen was just a dream. Some students began talking of seeing somebody when they're sleeping. The corridor of the dormitory was quite long for the Form 1 students. They had to share the dormitory, many of them. And in the middle of the night when they were sleeping, they say that somebody will be dancing in the corridor, up and down, dancing, and then will stop at one of them for a while, and then continue dancing, and then stop at another one, and they were wondering what's going on. They wished they were dreaming, But how could the students have the same dreams, all of them? Now they were connecting this to this incident that they had seen in the chapel. This could be the culprit. Now the teachers were wondering what to do about this. They had to protect Masinde. He's a bright student. And probably he had some convulsions or something. That's what they believed in the church. Convulsions. They were not sure of what was really going on. But the teacher of the skull now had to tell the principal the whole story about the skull, where he had kept the skull, what his brother told him about the skull, and the paraphernalia that they had in Masinde's luggage. And the priest knew that there must be something, because he had heard about this story in the community that stayed around that Masinde's place, because priests keep moving from one parish to another. So he had heard of a story of somebody like that living around that area that he was once, who was working once in that parish, and he had to do something about it. He had to carry out an exorcism. That's what he believed now, because he believed that probably the boy is possessed. He has a demon in him. Not knowing that actually it's actually witchcraft, which of course a demon is involved, so somehow he was right. And they had to call the exorcists to carry out this vigorous task that took almost a whole day. Masinde kept on rolling on the ground when they were trying to carry out this thing they called the exorcism. They had actually organized for a priest from another parish who was specialized in doing this exorcism to other people, because he had already received permission from the head of the church. Masinde had screamed in unworldly languages, but finally they managed to banish this demon out of him. They had to throw away his skulls. But believe you not, this demon did not go without burning a school dormitory. The moment they put the skull and the paraphernalia on fire, did the hostel, the school dormitory, catch fire. A raging fire that put down a whole dormitory. It was the same night that the exorcism had been done to Masinde. And that was the same night that Masinde had disappeared. That same night is the night that Masinde had disappeared from the school. It is believed that he went back to his father's coven to continue with his witchcraft studies. Others believe that he was swallowed up by the demon, because after investigation, it was known that nobody was injured in the fire, but the whereabouts of Masinde were unknown until later in the years. Later in the years, have you ever heard of a witch in Bungoma called Masinde? Had you heard the story of the witch called Masinde, who was against colonialism so much that he had even begun his own church? It is suspect that this could be the student. So this is just a story of what had happened to Masinde when he joined a school, a Christian school. He could not stay, because there is no way witchcraft can be mixed with Christianity. Either take one, leave one, and take the other. But there is no way you can blend both. So if you like my content, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more of this. Ciao.